And our Across Africa report continues with a closer look at the African Union and the ICC. Kwame Akonur has worked as a consultant for the African Union and written a book about the organization. He is director of the African Development Institute and a professor of international relations at Seton Hall University. Kwame, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Debbie.
I do appreciate it. It's such an interesting situation that has developed over here. Of course, the African Union has expressed this this displeasure at the fact that all of the leaders that have been brought before the ICC have been African. Do you think they have a point?
I think they have a point. I mean, as a matter of fact, they do have a point, because all of the 32 people who have been charged so far are from Africa, including the 8 African states. They don't have a point in a certain sense in the way that they all voluntarily agreed to be part of the ICC. And some of them actually voluntarily went to the ICC to have their case heard. So it's almost like a contradiction in terms.
I wonder if you can explain to me the AU chairman, Dessalines, he had a quote that I read. He says, it's very unfortunate that the court has, let me read the whole quote. It says, our goal is not and should not be to crusade against the ICC, but a solemn call for the organization to take Africa's concerns seriously. This is what I wanted to say. It is very unfortunate that the court has continued to operate in complete disregard of the concerns that we have expressed. Do you know what exactly those concerns are?
Well, the concerns really are for the mass atrocities that have happened in Africa: war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide. So there are real concerns that should be put out there, and this justice has to be done. So there's the idea that Africans have been unfairly targeted, or they have been race biased in the prosecutions. But the reality is that the African leaders also get away with impunity.
You know, and there was a meeting over the weekend, I do believe, and there was talk that they would all boycott. They would walk out, become no longer leave the ICC. And then nothing has happened to that point yet. Would that be an effective method? I wonder, you know, is that a way to achieve the goals?
Personally, I think that it will not happen. I don't think it's a realistic goal. I don't think most of the African countries are in favor of that. First of all, we have 34 African countries out of the 54 who are members of the Rome Statute, which is the ICC. Mm-hmm. So that's the first problem. The second problem is that African unions, the members don't usually speak with one voice. So that's another issue. The third issue that we can think about is the fact that impunity has to be punished. I mean, we can't let the African leaders go without accountability. So one of the recommendations that I have, or most of us have proposed, is to have the African institutions themselves create their own parallel institutions if they don't believe the ICC is the source on the seat for solving these problems.
And that was my next question: is that a practical solution? Can you know, African nations prosecute their own criminals?
Well, I think if they have the commitment and the will, they will be able to do so. After all, the Africans also have the African courts of human rights court that exists already. Again, unfortunately, there's no commitment. So far, only 25 African members have signed on to the African Court of Human Rights Protection. But it can be done, because that's the whole idea, to be able to prosecute our own, where the commitment has to be done so that it's not just from the top down, but it's from also from the bottom up.
And of course, Archbishop Desmond Tutu wrote an op-ed, appeared in the New York Times, I do believe, a few days ago, but and also Kofi Annan said that Africa's withdrawal from the ICC would be a badge of shame. How common is that sentiment?
I think it's very common. I mean, again, let's not forget Rwanda. I mean, that's one of the most heinous crimes that have ever happened in mass history. So the sentiment is common, and that people have to be held accountable. We had people like Idi Amin from Uganda in the 70s and so forth. So there is that need to be able to punish and hold our leaders to be accountable, rather than just let them walk free from justice.
One of those issues in very real time, of course, is the president and vice president of, excuse me, of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. William Ruto has already appeared once, and his, as I understand it, trial has been delayed. And then Kenyatta is scheduled to appear before the court next month in November. There has been sentiment that these trials should be delayed while they're in office. What are your thoughts on that?
I think in principle it makes sense. I mean, if somebody is a sitting president and they're governing and you're putting prosecutions against them, I think there's always that tension between peace and justice. You know, how do you let somebody who has allegedly committed crimes to rule at the same time as you want to give justice to the people who have been violated? So in principle, I think it makes sense to not prosecute them whilst they're in office. But at the same time, it should not let them off the hook if there's clear evidence that they've actually committed mass atrocities. After all, let's also remember that the United States and other powerful countries are not signatories to the ICC. So, and they've also signed, there's something called the bilateral immunity agreement, which the United States has signed with other African countries not to bring their heads of states and commander-in-chiefs and military commanders to justice for the ICC, even though they are not even signatories to the ICC.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Kwame Akonur. Thank you so much for your
thank
time.
you, Debbie.
Appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
President, and this is Arise America.